Right, if you're just joining us, a very warm welcome to you. We're starting this morning's conversation now because my guest is here. It's my pleasure to welcome Mr. Soji Apampa. Mr. Apampa is Executive Director, the Integrity Organization, Anticorruption Research, Training, Advocacy, and Consulting Organization. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you very much.
There seems to be so much confusion in the government. In the last 2 weeks, it has reached a very serious crescendo. One arm of government trying to outdo the other, even within the executive agencies that are supposed to be collaborators have become rivals. I mean, but this is really, I don't know. And there seems to be nobody, there at the center holding things together. Someone that everyone defers to, like the president, even within the executive agencies that are under the control of the presidency are taking on each other publicly and all of that. It doesn't seem to augur well for governance. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being hysterical. I don't know.
No, I think what we're witnessing is a move towards the climax of a battle that had started from the inception of this new administration. There's a battle for the soul of Nigeria that is going on. So the whole thing that has erupted as the fight against corruption, for example, is a battle for the soul of the country, because you will find, regardless of political party, that there are those who are for and those who are against. Regardless of whether it's within the executive or within the legislature, you will find those who are for, those who are against. This has breached party lines. It's not about party lines. It's an elite fight for survival. There is an existential threat that is being made to the status quo. So if you allow certain things, at least in the view of the elites, if you allow certain things to hold, then it threatens all of us. And they see it as their time to fight back and try and prevent certain changes from taking place. Yet there are some who are pushing for the change. And that's what we're seeing. So it has nothing to do with party lines or which part of the government you're in. There is a battle going on at the moment.
Where does that leave you and I, the ordinary Nigerians?
This is the unfortunate thing, because I wish we had gone about the drive for change a bit differently and had enlisted the public, because now the public is standing as onlookers, just watching what is going on, not knowing that it is their future that is being decided by the battles that are going on. So the public cannot keep quiet. We have to weigh in on the side that we think is important. And we only have a small window. We have between now and 2019. Whichever side emerges the stronger one in this battle is going to determine what happens in Nigeria 2019 going forward.
If you went back a little bit to the 2015 general elections,
yes,
wasn't that an opportunity for the masses to speak? And didn't they speak with the way the elections came out? And if actually Nigerians spoke in the 2015 elections, why is that where it ends? That the people, after giving their votes, they retreat to become onlookers? Isn't there a form of citizens' action that the citizens can weigh in one way or the other on what is going on? I'm referring to what happened in Lagos yesterday, where so many parts of Lagos were paralyzed as a result of some people protesting on the anti-corruption war and all of that, try to drum up support for the corruption battle of the government.
Yes.
I'm talking of that kind of citizen action. Is that not what is required of us?
It's coming, but it's not there yet. And where is the lethargy coming from? It's January 2012. January 2012, Nigerians en masse came out to try to do something against the elites at that time and in the name of the Occupy movement. But when they saw that all their efforts really at the end of the day didn't come to much, many lost faith. Many decided to take on the sit down and look attitude towards governance. So it's my hope that as people start to see concerted effort once again to get change, to come up and they are able to push it through, it will encourage more people to come out in support of the right thing. And by the way, the other side has also learned how to mobilize. So be ready that
the other side will be the elites.
Those who do not want the status quo to change.
Yeah, those are the elites.
Yeah, well, there are elites who also want things to change. So I'm saying it is split two ways. See, the numbers, in terms of sheer weight of numbers, is on the side of those who don't want it to change. But the power is in the hands of those who want it to change. So it depends on how each side decides to wield what they have. Because it is a shame, it will be a big shame if the current administration doesn't use the power that it has to push through some of the things that need to happen before 2019. And they leave it to the masses of numbers amongst the elites who want to keep things the way it currently is.
You know the dilemma that people face is this. Since 1999, we've had it's just either to the left or to the right. Two dominant political parties. Because all the others just merely queue behind whichever party is in power or whichever party is in opposition and probably still do well, and they think that that is where their bread will be buttered. That's what we've seen since 1999. Yes. Now we've tried A, we are trying B, and in between, Nigerians are still not satisfied. That's why 2019 looks a little bit scary.
Well,
because that would then mean if this side that is being tried now completely fails to deliver or give sufficient reason that it can deliver, given more time, then of course the emergence of a third force becomes imperative.
The biggest problem why there's very little to choose from both sides is because it's not based on ideology. If there was clear ideology and you had a clear alternative to that ideology, then you know what you're choosing. And it will be very difficult for the politicians to move from this side to that side. The fact that they're able to seamlessly move
yes.
from one to the other, lets ordinary people just throw their hands up in the air that it doesn't really matter. It's all the same. It's all the same people. It doesn't matter whether it's APC or PDP, it's just the same. So, but this administration, in fairness to it, set out a manifesto and a policy direction which was clearer than what we used to have before. So if only they would actually implement the things that they promised, the things that they pronounced before coming in, then there could be a real battle in 2019 for a real choice to be made by the citizens. So except we get there, and right now it means there's room for anyone who will come in with clear ideology to separate themselves from the right or the left and actually show a viable alternative. So what will happen in 2019, we don't know, but there is a need for us to push them to make pronouncements on ideology and also to follow through on the implementation. Now, if we said that the whole reason for coming into government was to deal with the security situation, improve the economy, and at the same time curb corruption, and what we have done predominantly is is fight corruption, not curb it. Yeah. We've fought the people who we perceive to be involved in corruption, but we haven't curbed corruption, and we haven't quite improved the economy. We're struggling to keep it from slipping into the abyss. It's not about growth. Until you see rural economies begin to revive, until you see in a place like Laduga in Kachia local government, where the herdsmen are, where they start to produce from the milk that they're getting from their cattle, and they're self-sufficient where they are. where in the Niger Delta people are producing. We're not just producing aquaculture, say fish inside tanks, but there are proper factories. We are creating value. We're exporting fish. We're doing, until we start to do things like that, you cannot say there's inclusive growth, so long as it's still driven by the oil economy. So that is the real task, because without fixing the economy, you can't tell anybody to pay taxes and for them to pay it well. But if a person, because of you, is now moving from 100 naira to getting 600 naira for what they're paying, and you're saying 50 naira in it should go to government, most people will. You know, so the governance problems we're having is because we're not fixing the economic issues. So there's a problem with the sequencing of what we're doing. Yes, it is important to deal with security, because without security, you cannot have economic growth. But next is economic growth, but it is also important to stop impunity, but not to stop impunity and have no alternative. We need to curb corruption, but we need to show people viable alternatives to the corrupt ways that they are following, that it can also get them the economic growth that they need.
I'm wondering whether the class struggle that you referred to earlier on, the elite struggle, is also what is making it difficult to fix the economy. Because no matter the kind of economy you have, whether it's good or bad, there will be people who are profiteering from it.
Yes.
And of course, we find this in the elite class.
Yes.
Is it the struggle between the elites that is also making the task of fixing the economy a little bit difficult?
Yes, and if I had the opportunity to advise Mr. President, I would say he should look at all of his lieutenants and look at where they stand in relation to his own heart, the vision he has and what he's trying to push through. Because not everybody is working in the same direction as him. Let me give you a concrete example. In the beginning, we talked about the foreign exchange regime, and yet CBN was still licensing bureaus de change. They cut off the official window in which the bidding was happening transparently and replaced it with an opaque system, and there was no comment from the presidency. It was from then we started to lose the battle. So even if it was by mistake, even if it was an inadvertent error, it opened the door for those who could see the opportunity to start to arbitrage between this opaque system and the bureau de change, and plunged us into where we were going. Many commentators were shouting about it, but there was no response.
Perhaps the presidency didn't understand all that was going on. You know, don't forget there were so many things on the plate. The task of even picking those who were supposed to be the economic advisors of that's the economic team of the government.
Yes.
Took a long time. Even right now, a lot of people tell you, oh, do we really have an economic advisory team? Oh, we don't. Oh, yes, we have. And all of that. And then while that was going on, the monetary, those who were in charge of the monetary policy were doing as they thought was right.
I think there was a level of naivety.
Where?
At the start of the administration. Because you are pronouncing that you're coming in, you're going to curb corruption, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and the elites are watching. And they're thinking, if you let this man achieve what he wants to achieve, we're all in trouble. So they started to move their own people. And they managed to move their own pieces on the chessboard to checkmate what was going on. So the battle had begun from the beginning. It was also part of that battle, things happening in the background that made it very difficult for him to be able to name a cabinet. Because the people he wanted, there was a level of infighting going on. It was very difficult for him. And in the end, he just pronounced a cabinet. And we were all shocked, because you thought an administration that is coming in to fight corruption and that got in on the basis of change would change the actors. But we had actors from the immediate past administration
that are still even acting now.
People who are not known for their propensity for change. That's not what they're known for. They made it into the cabinet. So it left the public puzzled that what exactly, therefore, is going to be the character of this new administration. So I am suggesting that that battle had begun from the beginning. And we're just seeing it coming towards a climax now. That is the kind of thing that we're seeing. So it's a battle between those who want the change to happen, but the people who are pushing for change have not enlisted enough support. They have not enlisted the public. Therefore, the other side could say, it's because you're fighting corruption that we're in this economic mess. That it's because you're fighting corruption that nothing is moving. And that resonates with the people because the people are suffering.
Which will be why the people will say, okay, give us back our corruption.
Yes, that's why people can make that kind of statement and it sounds plausible. So except Mr. President reassesses really the arsenal at his disposal, the kinds of people around him, and makes a very smart choice that what do I need in order to complete this job that I gave myself in 2015, let me complete it before 2019. It's not going to be with everybody he currently has around him.
Even if he doesn't have a re-election bid on, shouldn't he also be interested in leaving a legacy that here I was for 3 consecutive times, I tried, I struggled, I did everything to be president, I wasn't giving. Just when I thought I was giving up, some friends persuaded me to give it one more shot, and lo and behold, with friends rallying around, I got it. I need to leave a legacy. That in 4 years, I did what some other persons couldn't do in 8 years. Shouldn't he even be interested in that?
I believe he is, and there's nothing to suggest that he isn't. But where
and no single person's ambition under him should supersede that.
Well, I'm not sure that is the thing he should be bothered about, but rather that his own ambition should be grand enough to pull everybody in the right direction that he needs them to go. And therein lies the challenge. Because the kinds of people who turned what the public thought was a nasty old general that you don't want anything to do with into a statesman in a suit that people could then relate to after a while, that it's not so bad. It's not such a bad idea to have this man. And then as soon as you get in, you jettison them. And then also the people who were able, what you couldn't do with your team for 3 successive times, these people came on board and were able to make it happen. And yet, those are the first people you jettisoned when you came in. And you think you can still push through with the power that you need to keep the momentum going. It doesn't make sense. So the whole momentum was lost within 6 to 12 months. It was all gone. But it's not totally lost, which is why we're still saying there is an opportunity. It's the leadership that is required. But it's tough leadership. The kind that will say, even people around me, I need to x-ray what role they have played in either keeping me from going forward or propelling the agenda forward. And he should make that change. People have been expecting that by now there'd have been a reshuffling of the cabinet, that those who are considered deadwood should have been removed, or those who are cogs in the wheel,
not adding value.
Yes, should be removed. Otherwise, at the end of the day, to be a bit controversial, maybe some of the statements that the wife of the president has made to come back and haunt him if he doesn't take actions. Because I think the thrust of what his wife was saying is that there are other people whose agendas are not necessarily yours, that you have given too much credence to. This might derail where you're going. I mean, that's the essence I pull out of the statement that she made.
It's playing, that statement is playing out in so many fronts. But let me bring you back to the real issue now. That's the anti-corruption. The president campaigned on 3 planks.
3 planks, yes.
The security,
yes,
corruption,
yes,
and the economy. But let's start with the corruption, because that's where I think the president is actually the man who should be at the leading the battle from the battlefront, not from the rear.
Yes.
This is where we need to see his hands. We need to see his face, not his body language, not him saying something and some other persons under him overruling him, as it were. Now, that's what we have seen in the last, in the EFCC
saga.
EFCC versus Senate saga.
Yes.
if the president truly wants to use the anti-corruption war to rebrand himself, has he handled this issue of his nomination for the position of the EFCC chairman? Has the president personally handled this issue tactically well?
I think the way it has been handled will suggest to people that we have no alternatives in the country and that there's only one man who can lead the fight against corruption. Many Nigerians thought that after Ribadu, there could be no fight against corruption. They were almost proven right by the next two people who headed that commission. But then here comes another person showing that if you had checked well, you could have found somebody else who is now giving the kind of hope that many Nigerians would want. Remember the context of the battle between those who want change and those who do not want change. Therefore, it's not a surprise to me that he would not be confirmed. Some of us could have predicted from the beginning that it doesn't matter how many times you present this candidate, he will never be confirmed. So what's your plan B? Are you saying there was no plan B? Are you saying there were no other candidates? This is where we need the president to show his mettle. That he is the president, and he is the president of the whole of Nigeria, and that in the whole of 180 million people, he knows who to select and that can still do the job. If choosing this man is becoming a hindrance to the work going forward. So it's not about Magu's person, it's not about the interference by DSS, but which should be looked at, because some are suggesting that the DSS had the temerity to do what they did because some people around Mr. President were the owners of the speech. The DSS just provided the vehicle to deliver that verdict.
I don't understand that.
Well, the suggestion is that there are many people, more than we have seen, who actually don't want Magu there. And it's not only not only the Senate.
Okay.
So there are some, even within the presidency, so the story goes, who also don't want him and who are orchestrating the kind of responses and the backlash that we're seeing.
Couldn't they have taken such objections to Mr. President privately or in the outside of the what was going on in the Senate? Because what they have done now is to publicly embarrass the president by, okay, let's follow the sequence of this Magu case.
Yes.
His nomination was presented very early in 2016.
Yeah.
He wasn't called for the first time until December. That's several months, almost 8 months after his nomination had been submitted, was when he was called. Sometime in December was when he was called. Even when he was called, it wasn't to screen him. It was to read to themselves the report that they had commissioned. When that happened and they sent him back to the president said, okay, these are the allegations against you. I'm going to set up a panel under the Attorney General to look at it. The Attorney General subsequently queried Magu. He responded. The president obviously felt convinced about his defense and then re-nominated him to the Senate. The DSS wrote another letter again to the same Senate, still restating why the man should not be confirmed, and the new letter wasn't saying anything new. It just saying the same old thing, to which the president had queried the man. The man had responded, the president felt convinced, and all of that. This persistency that we have seen in the DSS opposition to Magu, and behind the president, that's the worrisome aspect of it.
I know it is worrisome. It's worrisome for all Nigerians, but I'm pointing out the source. The source is this battle amongst the elites to stop this change that is about to take place to their status quo, full stop.
Even if it means embarrassing the president.
Even if it means embarrassing anybody. Because how did the leadership of the Senate emerge? Wasn't it an embarrassment to the leadership of the party. I don't think it's about some niceties. It's about survival. It's about trying to make sure that certain things do not happen. So if you are slow in doing what you need to do, the other side is not sleeping, and they will make the moves that they need to make to block it. So you need an active team that is thinking through what needs to be done and has its own strategies and is able, so you don't want Magu, I have 3 more of this type, or I have 4 more of that type. You can't tell me you reject everybody, because then every Nigerian will now know you are the problem. But if you keep representing the same person and they keep coming back with the same answer, and the law doesn't really permit a person to continue in an acting capacity indefinitely, are you not putting yourself now in a position where you're acting unlawfully in order to show that the National Assembly has not won in this issue? I think that we need to think of more alternatives and more ways of freeing up the momentum and getting the push to continue. So I would like to encourage Mr. President really to come up with more alternatives to Mr. Magu, because there are alternatives in the country. So he should identify those alternatives and let's move on. So if we cannot have our A person, there must be B, there must be C, there must be D.
Okay, the larger, what happens to the larger picture of the possibility of it repeating itself?
No, that is why I said the first thing is Mr. President has to examine the people around him.
Yeah, because if the DSS can do it now and get away with it, because all they want is for Magu not to be the man.
Yes.
And if at the end of the day the president picks another person, isn't that a triumph for that kind of scenario where tomorrow the president may pick somebody who has no skeleton in his cupboard, but somebody somewhere, maybe in the DSS, feels, no, this person shouldn't be it, and originates a report like this, and forwards it, and does everything to ensure that that position stays true.
Yes.
Where does that leave executive powers of the president?
If in a campaign you lose a single battle, it doesn't mean you have lost the war. Sometimes it is even strategic to concede a particular battle for a more strategic purpose to be achieved. And I think that strategic purpose is for the president to put the whole change agenda back on a success track. So yes, let them sacrifice Magu. Let us have somebody else who can do as much as, if not more, than Magu. Let's give them other alternatives, but deal with the source. Deal with the people that you know are sabotaging your effort to push change through. It's within your power, and you know them. You have to really believe you're the president of the whole of Nigeria in order to be able to see alternatives beyond your immediate comfort group. And that would also be the encouragement to Mr. President that he should look further. He will find. And loyalty is not always from your own household. Loyalty, in fact, in many places they tell you sometimes it's your brother you need to watch out for. And the stranger, yes, is possibly somebody that you can take a risk on. Yeah. Yes. So I think as the president of the country, he needs to look again at the people that he's got in strategic positions, and if they're not performing, he should make the necessary changes.
So for now, the president must not be seen to want to swim or sink with the president. I mean, with his nominee. With
the choice, no. I think he will be belittling his office. Because, and it will also be belittling of Nigerians, as though there's no other alternative. It is lawful that the president nominates. It's also lawful
for the Senate to reject.
That the National Assembly either confirms or does not confirm. Yeah. And they have refused the first time. They have refused again the second time. And it's lawful. It's not illegal. So why don't we present an acceptable candidate?
The law is on their side that they may not even give a reason why they are saying no.
They don't have to. So people alleged is because of the DSS letter, and there are implications of accepting it is because of the DSS letter. Because there are some other people who the DSS has information on who should not even be in that hallowed institution. So they have very clearly said it has nothing to do with the DSS letter, but we have rejected this candidate. So let's move on.
Let me bring you back to, but can we just spare a little thought for Ibrahim Magu in all of this? Even though it's an individual, one person's interest cannot override public interest. But then, your evaluation of him, here is a man that probably thinks he's doing his very best for his fatherland, and then the way he's been treated and all of that, isn't that likely to also send some signals to a potential candidate in future that, watch it, all of this, something may happen, you will be sacrificed? Just it will
send that signal. However, if you look a bit closer and you listen to some more people, they say some of the things that the gentleman did when he came in, some wonder if it wasn't playing to the gallery in order to win the support. Because you're bringing someone who is not yet at that level, pulling him above others to that level. And it's proving that he can do the job. Fine. But then there's a balance with diplomacy, where before you are confirmed, do you show your whole hand? And once you've shown your whole hand, you cannot retrieve it. You have no more aces up your sleeve. You've played your hand. They know exactly where you're going, and then they use their joker, which is to make sure you're not confirmed. So which one is the more effective strategy? So whoever the candidate is has to understand that it is a battle. It is a war. There's a war going on, and it's coming right in the middle of the war. So it's not about you. You have to read what is going on in the war and determine how to position yourself when you're coming in. Otherwise, you will fall prey in the same way.
For now, this anti-corruption war or battle is on a kind of tenterhooks. The only person who can unhook it is the president himself.
He's not
by the actions he takes speedily.
Yes.
That is, probably look for a replacement for Magu.
Yes.
And then, of course, publicly unfold the strategy. Because I'm bringing you back to what you said earlier on, that we are fighting corruption. We're not curbing it.
No.
So that will mean that the strategy, again, is not right.
Well, let me not say it's not right. Let me say it's not complete. Yes, okay. It's not complete. So if all you're doing, as I keep repeating, that the faucet is broken, the water is gushing out, and you have stationed one man with a blala to stop people from fetching from there. But when you look, and you look at the crowds, there are millions coming with their buckets. How many are you going to chase away with a blala? First, fix the faucet. Fix the broken thing. Prevent it from happening. Otherwise, at the end of this administration, I promise you we'll have people whose names we have never heard that are now being accused of corruption. It will be another set of people. So from administration to administration, since 1999, we've been naming new people, because we don't prevent. We just chase with blala around, we embarrass who we want to embarrass, make a public show of them, and then we move on. And the same thing happens again. So except we curb it, except we prevent corruption, there is no real way of making progress in the fight against it. But it's not instead of the fight to reduce impunity. It's not instead, it's in addition to. But one more thing, we must enlist the public. Because without the power of the hearts and minds of the citizens with you, you cannot win that war. And we keep getting reminded that the progress the Nigerian army has made against Boko Haram, and might I say, also against Amnesty at the moment, is the ability now to enlist the hearts and minds of the public. That really is the only way to create that momentum and keep it going.
Let's get to the social interactive platform. Let's see what Nigerians are saying. Sunday, Ewolabi. Corruption is a diplomatic enterprise. I disagree with your guess that Magu should have applied some diplomacy.
It's fine.
Oniara Efe says, Benga, you are the best. Okay. Thanks for touching on Magu being the sacrificial lamb. All right. Olumide says, not sure if PMB is ready to fight this corruption. If ready, why did he not allow Kachiku to finish his reforms in NNPC? Thank you so much, Olumide, for raising that issue. Yeah. How to discourage, I'm using your analogy of the broken
faucets.
Exactly. How, and we have so many broken faucets in Nigeria where you talk about where the nation is hemorrhaging.
Yes.
The central bank, the NNPC, the public service, our procurement rules, and all of that. Asede Henry says, if Mr. President did not get the report of the DSS before it was submitted to Senate, then something is seriously wrong. I can assure you that I'm sure he didn't get it. Otherwise, if he got the report, he wouldn't represent the man again. Yeah. DGA Philip says, your guest seems oblivious of the fact that this has happened times before in the past. Reject and renominate. Acting goes on. Yeah, but that could be okay for a ministerial position. That's the only one I can remember where President Obasanjo truly showed his hand. In the case of Professor Boris Shade, who was nominated as a minister then, I think Mrs. Bolaji or someone as well. The Senate rejected. He represented. In the case of Boris Shade's name was represented like 3 times before the Senate finally got tired and said, "This old man, let's give him what he wants. Let him leave us alone." We're talking of whether the president can also not represent Magu. And this time around, back his nomination with some presidential muscle.
I like that phrase, presidential muscle.
Because that's what has been lacking here.
Except you do so, which the comment I was going to make is that presidents are different to each other in their style. President Obasanjo had his own ways of bringing presidential muscle to bear.
If you say you are senators who are stubborn, I would tell you that I'm a retired general, I am more stubborn.
But you have to make sure that the power, whatever that power is on your side, and you are willing and able to use it. What this president has shown us is that when he should have acted, for example, when there was the emergence, or at least a new Senate president was emerging, and people thought that the president could have used his position and his weight, he said he was not interested and he was not intervening. So if you find a president who consistently takes that kind of position, then I am not so confident that in this case it would be any different.
Let's talk about the strategy now. How to curb and not fight corruption.
Yes.
In what areas do you think the president would need to fine-tune the strategy?
Public procurement, to start with.
I mentioned that.
Yes. Public procurement. Why would you allow a company that is a known corruption risk, or a company owned by people who are known to be corruption risks, why would you in this world allow them to participate in your public procurement? I didn't say they've proven that they are corrupt, but they're known to harbor corruption risks. You know, a particular type of activity, for example, oil and gas or construction, is more prone than buying supplies for education. Will you treat the procurement the same way as you would treat for education? You can prevent it by looking at what are the usual schemes. At least remove the possibility of those schemes from occurring. You know that they will mutate, they will find a new way, but let it be that you are then hunting the new ways and dealing with them, which are few, rather than leaving the whole field open, that they use it time and time and time again. One of the success stories that they keep quoting of this administration is allowing the TSA to happen. Just because we do not have 1,000 bank accounts anymore, and it's one bank account, it is harder. It is harder. So that kind of prevention is powerful, because now it is harder. It doesn't mean that it's not going on, but it's not a free-for-all as it used to be. Simply by looking at the systems and curbing, looking for where the system is vulnerable and strengthening it.
All right. Just you mentioned just one. Can you quickly smuggle in one? Oh, we have just a few seconds.
Yes.
Is it possible?
I think there are other areas as well. Dangling the carrot. Small businesses want grants from the government. Insist that there must not be a corruption risk before CBN can give money through the banks to them. Those who are looking for credit guarantees, make sure it's not a hole that you're pouring the money in. Insist. And then just put in the public procurement website what makes you a corruption risk so you can learn and go and fix it. And many Nigerians can self-help and start to fix themselves. It's not the government chasing them, but the carrots they see in front of them that would drive them to do so.
Thank you so much, Mr. Soji Apampa.
Thank
I
you.
would have loved to go on and on and on, but we just have to go now because we need to prepare the studio for the next program, which is also live. Thank you, sir. Mr. Soji Apampa is Executive Director of the Integrity Organization. The Integrity Organization is an anti-corruption research, training, advocacy, and consulting organization. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.